People say La Llorona cries for her children. That's wrong. She cries for the women who will replace her. If you hear her near the river while you're pregnant, it doesn't mean she wants your baby. It means she's already chosen you. Touching something deeper, I screamed. The lights flicked on. Daniel rushed in, panicked, asking what was wrong. I couldn't explain it. The pressure was gone. The room was warm again. But the crying returned the next night, and the next. On my next prenatal visit, the nurse frowned at the monitor. "The baby's heart rate dips at night," she said, just briefly. "Is that dangerous?" I asked. She hesitated. "It's unusual." That evening, Mrs. Calderon knocked on our door. She handed me a small cloth bundle tied with twine. Inside was a charm, old beads, dried herbs, something sharp wrapped in red thread. "For the river woman," she said softly. "She comes for mothers." "Why?" I asked. Her eyes filled with something like pity. "Because she cannot leave the water," she said, "and mothers always return to where their children were taken." That night, I stood at the window and watched the canal. The moon reflected perfectly on its surface. Then the reflection moved. A face rose slowly from the water, pale, hollow-eyed, lips trembling with grief. She smiled when she saw me, and for the first time, she spoke. "Soon," La Llorona whispered, "you'll understand." The baby kicked once, then went still. The doctor told me the baby was fine. That was the worst part. The ultrasound showed a strong heartbeat. The measurements were normal. The technician smiled, made small talk, asked if we'd chosen a name yet. But when the screen went dark for a second, just a blink, I saw something else. Water, rippling across the image like the womb had turned into a river. "Did you see that?" I asked. The technician frowned. "See what?" She didn't answer when I asked again. She just printed the images and told me to wait for the doctor. That night, I woke up standing, barefoot, in the hallway. The front door was open. The sound of crying drifted in from outside, no longer distant, no longer carried by the wind. It was calling me. I stepped onto the porch. The desert air was cold, sharp in my lungs. The canals shimmered under the moon, brighter than it should have been. There she was again. La Llorona stood knee-deep in the water now. Her white dress clung to her legs, soaked and heavy. Her face was clearer, lined with grief so old it felt carved into her bones. "You feel it, don't you?" she said. Her voice didn't echo. It sank straight into me. I shook my head. "Go away." She smiled sadly. I tried. She lifted her hands from the water. Something moved beneath the surface. Not fish, not shadows. Small shapes pressed upward, stretching the water thin like skin. Faces. Children's faces. I stumbled back, screaming. Daniel burst out behind me, grabbed my shoulders. "There's nothing there," he shouted. But when he looked into my eyes, his voice faltered, because I was crying, not from fear, from recognition. The baby stopped moving completely after that night. Days passed. Doctors ran tests. Stress, they said. Rest more. Drink water. Avoid the canal. As if I could avoid something that was already inside me. The crying followed me everywhere now. In the shower, in the hum of the refrigerator, in the white noise of the hospital monitors when Daniel brought me to work late one evening. I started hearing words inside the sobbing. He was cold. They slipped. I couldn't hold them. La Llorona's memories weren't spoken. They were shared. One afternoon, Mrs. Calderon came again. This time, she didn't knock. She let herself in and went straight to the kitchen table. "You shouldn't be this far along," she said, staring at my stomach. "I'm 8 months," I said. She shook her head slowly. "No, you should have crossed by now." My mouth went dry. "Crossed where?" "The river," she whispered. "That's when she lets you go." I backed away. "I'm not giving her my baby." Mrs. Calderon looked at me then, really looked. "She doesn't want the baby," she said. "She wants the mother." That night, my water broke, but it wasn't water. It soaked the sheets cold and dark, smelling like river mud. Daniel called an ambulance, panicked, shouting. The labor didn't start at the hospital. It started at the river. I woke at 1:11 a.m., standing barefoot on wet sand, my nightgown soaked to the knees. I didn't remember leaving the house. I didn't remember opening the door. The canal glowed under the moon, wide and black, breathing softly like something alive. La Llorona stood in the water, waiting. "You came on your own," she said. I tried to speak. My throat burned. "I didn't want this." She tilted her head. "Neither did I." Pain tore through my body then, deep, splitting, wrong. I doubled over, screaming as my stomach tightened in violent waves. This wasn't labor the way the books described it. This was extraction. Daniel's voice echoed somewhere behind me, shouting my name, but the sound couldn't cross the water. He stood frozen at the edge of the canal, eyes wide, unable to move. La Llorona raised her hands. The river rose with her. I felt something shift inside me, turn, as if the baby had changed position, changed intention. "You don't give birth here," she whispered. "You return." The pain peaked, and then it stopped. Suddenly, completely, I collapsed into the shallow water, gasping. La Llorona knelt beside me and reached into the river. When she lifted her hands, she held a baby, my baby, perfect, silent, eyes open. Daniel screamed. I reached for the child, sobbing with relief, and La Llorona pulled it back. "This is where you're wrong," she said gently. She pressed the baby against her chest. The skin began to blur, like reflection on water. The baby's face softened, flattened, dissolved, until there was nothing left but ripples. My scream shattered the night. "No," I sobbed. "Please, take me instead." La Llorona looked at me then with something like respect. "That's why it has to be you." The water climbed my legs, my waist, my chest. I felt the river pulling, not at my body, but at my face, at my voice, at my grief. "You don't die," she said, as the water reached my mouth. "You stay, so the crying never ends." The river swallowed me. They never found my body. Daniel told the police I'd walked into the canal during a psychotic break. He told them about the crying, the dreams, the woman in white. They nodded and wrote something else down. He moved away. But the river didn't forget. Months later, people started hearing two voices crying at night, one old, one new. Sometimes they overlap, sometimes one answers the other. Women in Santa Fe learned to stay away from the canal when they were pregnant. Some left town entirely. Some didn't. Years passed. One evening, a young woman stood at the water's edge, one hand on her swollen stomach. She leaned forward, listening. "Do you hear that?" she asked her husband. He shook his head. "It's just the water." In the river, two women stood side by side, one ancient, one familiar. My face looked back from the water now, pale, hollow-eyed, hair drifting like weeds. I opened my mouth and cried.